talking a lot about decluttering, and I am incredibly fortunate to have in my midst, in my community, Jo, who is a director of her own business, she's a declutter expert and a professional organiser. And if you're interested in finding out a bit more about what that's all about, Jo has a website which is www.allsortedout. It's allsortedout.com.au, allsortedout.com.au. And Jo's work has always fascinated me quite a bit. I've been from a distant observer, because I know that decluttering is a lot more complex and has a lot more subtle energies and powers around it than we really generally are aware of. So, Jo, why is decluttering important?
Okay, so Lee, it's very nice to come and share this conversation with you today. Thank you for having me on your live broadcast. So decluttering is really important because basically it's a word and a verb that we're not really familiar with, but it's basically about freeing ourselves up from too much stuff. And it can also be about freeing ourselves up from really negative or bad thoughts or patterns. Yeah, so it does lots of things. It helps you get more organised. It helps you if you're always losing your car keys or your wallet or you can never find your gym gear. Decluttering's for you because we make a space for that gym bag and get rid of like books from the 1970s that you really don't read anymore.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Because there are some things that we love and we want to keep them. But someone I can think of would say you don't need it.
Yeah.
But what is that subtle thing about things we like and don't use?
Sorry, Lee, that just broke up.
What is the very subtle thing that goes on, which is stuff that we really like but we don't use? That's things that they're belongings we're really fond of, but that we're not using them.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we have to ask ourselves the Jesus question and say, okay, I really love that crocheting book and that bag of crochet stuff, but do I really want to do that job? Do I really want to have that hobby in my life right now? Or do I want to be going to the gym, going for a surf, going for a walk, meeting my friends, going to book group? And if crochet isn't on that top 5 things of what you want to be doing, basically you want to move that crocheting thing that you've had from, I don't know, when you're in high school or and you just want to make it exit stage right and make room for the hobbies and the things that we really want to do.
That are more in our present day. That makes sense. Yeah. Yep. And for me, I can't imagine what it's like when you arrive at somebody's house and there's so much stuff and it's not yours, and you have to work with them on how they're going to. I just hate I'm very careful with the language I'm using, but get rid of it. I get rid of stuff. So, what method do you use?
Okay, so the best method is to start in one area and say we're doing a wardrobe. Say if somebody says, a lot of people will say, I want to fix up the area closest to the front door because that's what everybody sees. But in a lot of ways, if we start with your wardrobe, that's your personal things. Like you can make a decision very easily on if you want to keep the things in the wardrobe or not, because it's only about you. It's not your sons or your daughters or your partners. So anyway, so the best way to do it is if you stand in front of your wardrobe and go, okay, I'm going to get rid of some things I don't wear, that won't be very successful for you. What my process is, I ask you to get it all out of the wardrobe and we put it on the bed in piles, and people's eyes pop out of their head and they're going, wow, I really got that much. And it's kind of like a bit of a shock method. And they
Absolutely.
go, wow. And then we sort through it, and if it's a woman, we'll go, okay, let's do the dresses first. And we'll look at the dresses, and people just, once it's out of the wardrobe, it sort of loses its power of how much you paid for it, why you've got it, you know, why you haven't worn it. It just becomes this bit of fabric, and you look at the dress and you go, I don't even want to wear that anymore. What is it doing in my cupboard? So the whole process becomes really easy. It's quite astounding, actually.
Yeah, to take it out of the wardrobe or where it's holding its domain.
Yep. It really has its own power when it's in the cupboard. Anything, if you go to your buffet where you have crockery and glassware and trinkets, if you stand in front of it and go, I'm going to take out some stuff I don't love anymore, you'll be hard-pressed to decide, really. But if you take everything out, put it on the dining table, you look at it and just go, what is this?
Who gave you that? Yeah. It's like boot camp.
It's a bit like boot camp. You can't just stand there and watch someone doing exercise. You have to actually do it yourself. And once you get going, it's really easy. But if you just sit there and looked at somebody in a gym and thought, God, I'll never be able to do that.
Yeah, exactly. It's the first step, isn't it? Oh, well, it's a big step.
Yeah.
And so I can imagine that a lot of emotion is running even talking about it. And what sort of changes have you seen when people have hired you, brought in the expert to declutter and organise?
Okay, so a lot of my clients are referred to me by a real estate agent or a stylist, someone who's, say, like late 60s, 70s, will decide they want to sell their house and move into something smaller. Like they don't want those 6 bedrooms anymore. They don't want 2 dining areas. They don't want stairs. And so they've got 30 years of stuff in their house. A lot of it's been left by their kids. A lot of it they inherited from their own parents or their aunts and uncles, grandparents even. They've got a lot of stuff in this house and they just don't know how they're going to move all that stuff into this 3-bedroom apartment that they're hoping to go to. So biggest change I've seen is when an elderly couple who were moving out, the real estate agent said to me a couple of times after I'd been to their home, she rang me up and she goes, Jo, what have you been doing around at that couple's house? What? And I was like, oh, geez, I don't want to hope I'm not double. Gosh, I thought everything was going really well. I was like, just the normal. And I go, why? What's wrong? And she said, well, I'll call him Adam. Adam, who hardly moved off his chair and really wasn't interested in talking about moving, he actually walked up the street to my real estate office to sign a document.
Wow.
And so she was really surprised. And to me, that meant he was really getting enlivened by the experience. He was like, wow, this is happening. We're getting rid of all this stuff. I'm going to move out into something easier. He really got it. It was very enjoyable.
Wow. Well, that's what they say, is that it will clear blocks, think that are in your life and get you moving. Wow, he must have felt like 2 tons of weight had been lifted.
Yeah,
at an
it was really
baggage level.
Yeah, it was really heartwarming to see what a big change it made for him. And, you know, you think it's a lot of stuff. And if you don't know how to start off, it just seems like a big hurdle.
And it must improve your lifespan and your health, surely, just to get rid of it all.
I think it improves people's mental outlook.
Yep.
Yeah. You know what it's like yourself. If you've got like an exam and you have to prepare for it, like it's a real hurdle. But if you break your study up or the homework up into little sections and you chip away at it a bit at a time, it's a lot easier.
Absolutely. And it reminds me about Feng Shui. Is that part of what your background is or your work?
Yeah. So when I used to work in film and television and I worked behind the camera, and so we would never be in we never had the safety of a desk and an office. So most people have like a truck with their gear in it, and I had like a small bag, and we would go from a studio to a location. You'd be on a plane, off a plane, and somebody would always be asking me, what filter did we use, or what's the dialogue for this commercial? Or so I always had to have these facts at hand, even though we were touring around and, you know, I didn't have anywhere to put anything. So I learned that you always have to have something in the right place. Yep. So I heard about this thing called Feng Shui, which was about how you only have what you need and you always have something in the right place. And so that's sort of how I got into decluttering, through Feng Shui, and I really enjoyed it. It's a great practice.
Oh, I think you have to come over to my house.
Oh, can't wait.
Is there one, because I know Feng Shui, like architects love to use it, and obviously people who culturally have been aware of it already, but is there one Feng Shui tip that we could all use to have a more positive energy flow or abundance, or enable us to have that freer thing around manifesting the lives we want? Is there one tip?
So it's just about having less of things. So like if you have something in a basket and it's chock-a-block, if it's crammed full, it's not going to have a good energy. But if you just have in that basket things that you really like looking at, or things that are useful and helpful, that I think that's the tip. We just keep the things that we really like and the things that we love, and get rid of all the other stuff. And then you become less cluttered, more space.
It's like that in all aspects of life, isn't it? You've got to kind of cut out what is not really serving you or relevant anymore, or is draining and blocking your energy. And
definitely. So people have a lot of, like I've been helping a client recently who has a small business, and we decluttered her workplace, which is like a factory, just because she's spending a lot of time there, and it's a creative business. So she just wanted to get it sort of working a bit more efficiently, and she really enjoyed the process. Like, she's spending all this time there, she's being creative, it's making her, you know, she's doing very well at it, but she just wanted it to be a little bit of a nicer environment. So we decluttered it, organised it more. She's very happy.
Oh, that's very good. Absolutely. Yeah. And so sometimes it sounds like people must be really overwhelmed, or quite in a state of overwhelm when they contact you.
Can be.
And I suppose some,
but also then sometimes people, it's just like anything though, like they just know they're not going to get this job done unless they ask for help. And then once you get going, they're like, okay, they know what to do, and they do some by themselves, and then they'll say, okay, can you come back in a month? And we just keep going at it. It just keeps you honest, having somebody else just to sort of nudge you along. And a lot of people say, you know, if you weren't here today, there's no way we'd be doing this. I would be off at the shops buying more stuff.
There's always something else you can do. That procrastinating must be huge.
Yeah. But most of us know that, like, we wouldn't go to the gym often or go for that run unless we knew our friend was there waiting for us at 6 o'clock on the floor. It's exactly the same. Yeah, it's good motivation.
Yeah, I know in my life when things other than the belongings have caused overwhelm, I've not been able to get rid of stuff. It just sits, or, you know, you're too busy or don't have the capacity to do it, and then it just builds up, and then it really can be something that you absolutely have to psych up for. And I think it's much better to get an expert, definitely, and someone that can really guide you, because people must turn to you for emotional support from time to time when it's all happening, because they're probably selling their house or you know, really shaking things up.
Yeah, so a lot of people just want to make space. They're just sick of everything crowding them out. Like, they've got a beautiful home and it's really big. They just feel like everything's everywhere, and they just need help getting organised. A lot of it's about being organised, actually, not just decluttering.
Yeah. Yeah, I like what you, sorry.
I would have to say the biggest positive thing that anybody can do if they want to try this themselves is to sort of, you've got to love healthy food. Sure, enjoy the treats, but you have to love healthy food if you want to eat better or have a healthier life. Or if you want to get fit, you have to kind of learn to love exercise. You can't hate doing your exercise. You've got to tell yourself, I'm going to really enjoy my exercise and do it. Same thing with this. You have to learn, you have to think, okay, I really want to be organised. I'm going to enjoy being organised, and you do it, you declutter, you get organised, and it's not a chore, it just becomes a way of life.
That's fantastic. It's so true. You have to embrace it, don't you?
Yeah, you just have to embrace it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very true what you were saying about people have to ask for help, and getting to a point where you're prepared to ask for help is a big thing, isn't it?
It is. I think it's really good when people are offered the suggestion, would you like some help with this? And they'll often say, oh, yes. But even ourselves, we often don't know to ask for help. Like we just sort of put head down and struggle on. It's not until somebody will say, hey, you might find this useful, or, yeah.
It's really underestimated, yeah.
That's where your support network is so good. Like if somebody in your community or your, social life knows, this is a good suggestion, it's always helpful, isn't it?
Absolutely, definitely. So what do people do with all of the stuff? Where does it go?
Okay, so a lot of stuff, there's nothing wrong with it. It's often in very good order. It's not worn out generally. This is why we've got all this stuff. It's so cheap to buy things. People are very generous. People have such disposable incomes, and they love buying gifts, especially for babies and children. All you have to do is go to a shopping centre and see all that cute stuff, and you just want to buy it even though you've got nobody to give it to.
So true.
Who doesn't want to buy all that cute baby stuff, really? It's amazing.
Yeah.
So given all this stuff, we buy all these things, we're in a hurry. I'll buy 10 because they're useful, and of course we never use 10, we only use 2. So all this stuff, what do? A lot of it goes to charity. So we kind of, as we're going through someone's things, whether it's homewares, kitchen, books, clothing, we break it up into, once they decide they don't want it, break it up into what can go to charity. If it's rubbish, it goes to a rubbish bin. Yeah,
it's great. It can be recycled, reused. And I know there's another word for it.
Yeah, you can reuse and recycle most of it. Most things are not worn out. They're hard. They're in good order, actually, which is why it's hard to part with some of the things. But like I said before, like I would love to crochet something, but I'm not going to start collecting crochet magazines because I haven't got time for it right now. I read boring emails and drive my children to games. Yeah. I look at Instagram instead, Yeah.
Beautiful pictures.
So as much as I would like to do that, I don't have time for it. So I don't collect that kind of stuff anymore.
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, well, is there anything else, any other gems and pearls of wisdom that you'd like to share with us about decluttering and the role it plays in our lives?
Oh, well, I definitely think like once people start working on like the contents of their home, they realise what's important, what's not important. Then they start to become aware of, what they're doing with their time, and they realise, it's a waste of time what I'm doing. I'm going to be more efficient, and they sort of declutter that activity. People might realise, oh, I'm not really happy doing what I'm doing, like that whole thing about what makes you happy, keep what makes you happy. And they realise, oh, I'm doing a lot of things actually that don't make me happy. So there's a bit of a reality check often.
Yeah, there's so much flow-on effect, yeah.
And I guess also it's about, you know, you must see so many people, Lee, who are trying to get rid of bad memories or bad experiences. And I think it would be very much the same. They just have to like process it and take that bad memory and say, okay, well, that happened, but I'm going to let it go.
There's such big decisions around clutter and around experiences, definitely. And that's been fantastic information you've been sharing today. And I'm so grateful to you for your time. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Lee. It's always lovely getting together with you. Very enjoyable.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks very much, Jo. And everybody watching, if you'd like to find out more about Jo's work and her special gift that she brings to the world of decluttering and professional organising, her website is www.allsortedout.com.au. It's allsorted.com.au. And Jo, thanks very much for coming along today and being here to share everything with us.
Oh, thank you, Lee. It's been a privilege and I really appreciate your time. Thank you, Lee.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.